Right, guys. I'm watching a few of these just for interest on the outdoor stuff and off grid and whatever. And I've been looking at these um, Bluetti and other power solar power banks or whatever. And I mean, to make one of those pay for itself, you'd have to do an awful lot of off grid stuff. It, It'd only be really viable, I think, if you're spending a long time in like a cabin, or you were living. If you're living in a vehicle, it's the way to go. Absolutely, definitely. And I was thinking, well, would it be any good for me here? Now, I'm off grid ready. I would say, I would call, and that's because I've got a wood burner, and I'm off grid ready. The grid goes down here. It's um, it's only a minor hindrance to me, very minor hindrance. And if it's for any length of time, it's probably going to be in the winter, so the refrigeration wouldn't be a problem, really. And you got to think about these kind of things. Just refrigeration. That would be the only thing that I would say. But the Bluetti probably wouldn't run a big fridge freezer for over long periods anyway. So anyway, um, and what you can do with the food anyway is you can cook it. If you had a load of meat, you'd have to cook it after a certain time. And but if it's in the winter here, you just open the fridge door, put it outside, which I've done. That I did it in the summer actually. Anyway, the Bluetti, to get a decent setup, a good setup, you're looking at and with this Charger One, which looks like you're going to need if you're charging it off the vehicle, because they reckon it's solar panels, especially if it's not sunny, which in the UK you'd be struggling, I think, to have constant, because they take a long time to charge up off solar. Anyway, even if the sun's out, so you got to look at all these things and think, and how much is it going to cost? Which is a lot of money, actually. Get a decent setup. I think you're looking at, where you wouldn't have to watch everything all the time, which people do with these things. And they've got to keep looking at how much power you've got left and turn things off. And I mean, you probably want to get the best setup you could, which would be the unit, which they're good in the sense that they've got the 12 volts as well, and the USBs and all that. That's handy. That's really handy, rather than like try and do everything off other things. And you can also use them while you're charging them off the solar, and if you had plenty of solar, I mean but that adds to the cost of the system. And then you kind of, like, if you build it all into a van, you're kind of stuck with that vehicle then as well. Vehicles don't last forever. They're only short term vehicles. Well, so to do it, I think you're looking at like maybe £3,000 if you have an expansion battery and all the bits and bobs and cables that you need. I would think that's got a lot of money to get back, and it wouldn't. I was thinking of getting one for this house, but I wouldn't need. You wouldn't need it. The only thing I might need is a battery, and I could use just a car battery, like I've kind of mentioned that before, and you charge that up while the power's on, or two batteries. and that's all they need. So rather than £3,000, and I don't even have that now because I don't really need it. I've got rechargeable stuff. And you always get some batteries, and there's loads and loads of these LED lanterns and stuff, which last for ages and ages and ages, just on battery or rechargeable, or both. You can have both. So that's all I need, and I don't even need that. You've got candles and that. And generally, anyway, here, if the power's off, the only thing I'd need to charge really is a phone, and I could do that with the car in a half an hour or whatever. You'd probably be going out in the car anyway if the power was down. So it wouldn't really do me be of any use to me here. And even on road trips, we don't go into the back country and all that. And if I did do road trips and I was going to sleep in the vehicle, I'd only do it like every other day, probably, or every other 2 days. Probably 2 days I'd sleep in the vehicle and then get somewhere, charge everything up. You could charge it up with the vehicle. So to get one of them, you'd have to be doing an awful lot of backcountry, off-piste, offshore, off-grid camping, or have an off-grid cabin where you're going to spend quite a lot of time there, and they'd probably be worthwhile getting one. Apart from that, I think it's if you do the figures, but it's it'd take me an awful long time to recoup £3,000. Although you could turn stuff off in the house then if you got one of these and not use the grid. You could use that instead of using the grid, but like it wouldn't last long. The big thing I use it for is the water heater, power, and that's what I'd be wanting to use it for, the power and the hot water and the freezer, and I don't think it'd last long doing that. I really don't. So they're definitely handy and have got use cases, especially if you're they'd be fantastic on a boat, on a canal boat, something like that. It'd be fantastic. That would be what I'd be running the boat off straight away. And a cabin in the woods, but you wouldn't want to leave it there then. If you had a cabin in the woods, you wouldn't want it set up permanently and leave it there, would you? Because people will pinch you. People will find out it's there and take it off you. So that'd be the other thing. You wouldn't want to be leaving it anywhere either. So yeah, they've definitely got the use cases, but it's definitely also a luxury. If I want one in this house, or any house, with a wood burner, that's it. You don't need backup. You don't need it. You don't need anything. All you need is water. But a Blue Yeti doesn't supply water either. So for the power needs in this house, I don't need anything. I've thought about solar actually, and solar water, but I can stand the bills. It's only in the summer, and that's £15 with the water heater. It's only about £15 a month maximum, the electric bill. Now, how many £15 would it take to get buy a Bluetti, which you don't need half the time? You know, when we're powered down here, it's only like it's going to be maximum in this particular area anyway, because we're not that remote. We're in the sticks kind of thing, but we're not remote. So it wouldn't be like 7 days, or like some people have just had, probably. And you know, you could go and stay somewhere anyway. And the Bluetti probably wouldn't last long running the house either, in the conditions where you're going to be needing it, you know. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the Bluetti. But they had the good kit, beautiful looking stuff. And you know, people who like gadgets and all that, Mr. Gadget, and they want a good setup, especially in a camper van or something like that. But like even then, if I was ever going camping, and when I was camping, it's very difficult to camp off grid anyway in the UK while camping. I think it's against the law actually, under 2,000 feet, if I can remember rightly. Except for gypsies, they do what they want, because the cops don't go near them. They've got like a backup. It's called a shotgun, and cops know better than to go near them. So I don't know. So anyways, there's another thing that like I've had a few intermittent, not all the time, obviously, and I'll explain something that like the reason why a lot of the time I am wrapped up is because I make the videos first thing in the morning, and I don't light the fire until maybe 11 o'clock most days. Sometimes I do, if I want the fire on straight away. Sometimes I'll have an early one. But yeah, so most of the times I do first thing. I make videos first thing when my brain's working, early in the morning. I'm an early morning person, and you think about things. Say so I've been working outside all my life, basically, in my profession, and like I used to have my office cool in the winter. You know, no more, absolutely no more than about 18, 20 degrees maximum. Because if you're going in and out into hot things, and because we dash in and get some information and do some calculations or whatever, and then we'd be back out then. And if you go in and out of hot and cold, it can make you ill, you know, and you tend to get colder when you go out then as well. Your body gets confused. It does, because I've done it all my life, and spent the same in the summer. Not so much in the summer, but like the cabins and the containers can get really hot in the summer. Not in the UK. It doesn't get like, except for a couple of days, maybe every 2 years. You know, you get a week of like really hot weather. So when people say, "Oh, look, it's cold," well, I'm not cold. That's why if I'm wrapped up, I'm not cold. Now, if I was sat here with nothing on, shivering, then you're cold. But like at the moment, I've just been to the shops anyway. So that's what, and I've lit the fire now. So I'll be taking everything off in a minute. Like, not everything. I'll be taking my coat off. And I'll maybe leave the scarf on. I like wearing this scarf anyway. I like it. It's like a comfort blanket, innit? Kind of thing. But So there's the message. I mean, I know how to keep warm, basically, and stay warm, but not overheat, go cold, get warm, get cold. You know, and if I'm going out doing anything physical, I'd probably take my coat off when I go out. If I'm going out cutting wood up, or like when I'm building the fire in that in the first thing, I usually do it. I don't light it. I'll build it ready. Sometimes I'll just be tempted to light it, you know. But I don't wear my coat because I'm moving around. And then if I'm digging snow, I don't have my coats on outside, really. Most of the time. Because you get too hot, especially this coat. No chance. You'd be sweltering. So then I'd only be wearing my scarf and the fleece, and I wouldn't wear the coat. So you've got to. I don't know. You don't know how to talk to people sometimes, and how to, like, portray or convey that not everyone's the same, and people learn, like me, how to keep warm. I've done it over 35 years. I'm never cold. I won't be one of these pensioners who die. Now, you could, if you're wearing the wrong clothing and your heating's, going off, or you're shit scared to turn it on, something like that, and you get colder and colder, then that's a danger. It is. And, so if you don't know what you're doing, but all you'd have to do, these pensioners who are sitting there in like Marks and Spencer wind cheater or something, and a pair of stay press slacks, or something like that. All they'd have to do is dress properly in the house and stop, don't complain, and you'd be warm. You'd never die if you had on what I've got on now. You'd never die in the UK. Never. This is good what I've got on maybe a blanket on your legs or something. If there was no heating at all, which I've usually got like a 1 bar on the fire. These people are on about like they can't heat the whole house. That's what they're used to. But those days are over. You've got to get out of that mindset. You've got to get out of it. If you think there's a cost of living crisis and most of it's energy in that, you've got to start like thinking properly. Nobody's there. Nobody says like when you're born that it's a right to have a whole 3-bedroom house heated for next to nothing. Nobody ever. That's not part of the deal, especially in places like this. People have moved into one room in the eastern block for years, forever, and now it's getting a bit like expensive to heat places in the UK, and that you've got to start listening. People like me, and get smart, and stop saying that I'm cold and all that, because I'm not. I'm toasty warm, and if I'm freezing cold, you'd know I'd be grey, I'd be white, but I'm not. I'm overheated now. When I go out and come back, and my face is burning because you'd overheat, because your body gets used to it, warming itself up, So to all those pensioners who think they're gonna die, get yourself in one room. Don't turn the central heating on. Get yourself in one room. If it's a cold snap, get a bed set up. Get yourself in one room or one floor of the house, let's say. And you don't want to be heating the hall and the stairs and like all that stuff. That's, when I used to stay at my granny's house, they had a coal fire, and that was it. And like when you went to bed, you had the hot water bottle, and you were never cold. I was never cold. You wake up with icicles on your nose. That's about it. And I had an eider down, I remember. And that's why I have a big down duvet, because I know they were there. And get one of them. You know, get yourself sorted out. Get yourself sorted out. This is the new normal. That's what they call it. And it's not going to get any cheaper. They're not going to go suddenly, hang on a minute. It's right, all of a sudden everything's going to be cheap again. It's not going to happen. It ain't happening. This is the new normal. And now you've got to cut your cloth. You've got to start thinking about these things, you know. And I find the 1 bar fire is good, because this is 1800 watts. This fire. So if I've got 1 bar, and I'm guessing, I don't know the thing about electrics and that too much, on how to split it, but I would imagine if it's 1800 watts, 1 bar is 600 watts, which is less than one of those halogen things, which is 1200, and they're not very good. This is good. This is Comtel. This is I don't know where it's made. I think it's made in Bulgaria. And it's got a certain type of bar on it. It's not the old type, which was, you know, it was like a metal wrapped around a core. This is like a radiant bar. I don't know what they're made of, but it's good. And it's radiation, heat, radiant heat, and it's really good. It's not on at the moment. We don't need it, because we're up to like about 5-6 degrees now outside. So yeah, you've got to start thinking in different ways, and saying, don't like make fun of people like me who's wrapped up and warm. I'm warm. That's why when you're wrapped up, you're not cold. This is what people just don't get, you know. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, cheers.